was Hitler? The question often gives way to just one simple answer: the devil incarnate. The word Hitler is almost like an adjective today, where it is used to describe an authoritative person of bad temperament. Let's take a look at what the infamous Nazi leader was all about and what made him the dictator. Adolf Hitler was born on 20th April 1889 in Brno, a town in Austria-Hungary, which is close to the border of the German Empire. He was the fourth of 6 children born to Alois Hitler and his third wife, Clara Paulsloh. 3 of Hitler's siblings, Gustav, Ida, and Otto, died in infancy. Hitler was born to a practicing Catholic mother and an anti-clerical father. Hitler and his father shared a conflicted and strained relationship, basically because of his refusal to the strict school discipline. The family's efforts at farming failed, and in 1897 the family moved to Lumbach. The 8-year-old Hitler took singing lessons, sang in the church choir, and even considered becoming a priest. Can you imagine that? In 1898, the family returned permanently to Leonding. Hitler was deeply affected by the death of his younger brother Edmund, who died in 1900 from measles. Hitler changed from a confident, outgoing student to a morose, detached boy who constantly fought with his father and teachers. His father had made a successful career in the Customs Bureau and wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. Like many Austrian Germans, Hitler began to develop German nationalist ideas from a young age. He expressed loyalty only to Germany. After his father's sudden death on 3rd January 1903, Hitler's performance at school deteriorated and his mother allowed him to leave. He soon left the school without any ambitions for further education or clear plans for a career. In 1907, Hitler left Linz to study fine art in Vienna, financed by orphans' benefits and support from his mother. He applied for admission to the Academy of Fine Arts Vienna but was rejected twice. The director suggested Hitler should apply to the School of Architecture, but he lacked the necessary academic credentials because he had not finished secondary school. In 1907, his mother died of breast cancer at the age of 47 when he himself was 18. In 1909, Hitler ran out of money and was forced to live a bohemian life in homeless shelters and in men's dormitory. He earned money as a casual laborer and by painting and selling watercolors of Vienna's sights. During his time in Vienna, he pursued a growing passion for architecture and music, and even attended his favorite opera shows. Who would have thought? Later in his life, Hitler created a public image as a celibate man without a domestic life, dedicated entirely to his political mission and the nation. He met his lover, Eva Braun, in 1929 and married her on 29 April 1945, just one day before they both committed suicide. Let's know what his youth was like and what made him the man he was known to be. In August 1914, at the outbreak of World War I, Hitler was living in Munich and voluntarily enlisted in the Bavarian army. He participated in several battles and was decorated for bravery on several occasions. His wartime experience reinforced his German patriotism, and he was shocked by Germany's defeat in November 1918. His bitterness over the collapse of the war effort began to shape his ideology. It was during this time that his hatred for the Jews grew, as he blamed them and the Marxists majorly for surrendering Germany to immoral and humiliating terms of the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to give up territory to Belgium, Czechoslovakia and Poland, and return Alsace and Lorraine to France and give up all of its overseas colonies in China, Pacific, and Africa to the Allied nations. In addition, it had to drastically reduce its armed forces and accept the demilitarization. One of the most controversial terms of the treaty was the War Guilt Clause, which explicitly and directly blamed Germany for the outbreak of hostilities. The treaty forced Germany to pay a compensation to the Allied powers to a staggering amount of $5 billion. Hitler was determined to break the shackles of the Treaty of Versailles and to make Germany a great nation. Race issues were also at the forefront of his political manifesto. Hitler believed the Aryan race to be superior to all others.
Enough about you, let's talk about me.
And that the Jews were as great an evil to the world as communism. Once he came to power, the new Germany soon found itself subject to unprecedented levels of state control. The Nazis instilled a sense of discipline in the German people that would contribute to their early success in World War II. Completely in power, Hitler's first action against the Jews was to proclaim a boycott of Jewish shops in April 1933. By the end of the year, Jews were banned from holding public office, from teaching, farming, and from arts. Then in September 1935 came the Nuremberg Laws. Through these, the Jews lost their citizenship and were prohibited from marrying Aryans. Later, they were outlawed from the legal and medical professions. Large number of Jews left the country. Over half the 6 lakh Jews in Germany emigrated over the next 6 years. Can you imagine some famous personalities who also fled Germany? Well, among those who fled were physicist Albert Einstein and novelist Thomas Mann, who fled to the United States, as did many other prominent figures from the fields of the arts and science. Education was another key Nazi weapon. Pupils were taught according to National Socialist principles. Textbooks were hastily written, and all teachers had to take an oath of loyalty to Hitler himself. Much emphasis was placed on physical fitness, and boys were expected to join the Hitler Youth. Hitler also brought full employment by revitalizing industry and encouraging new technology, especially in the field of armaments. German males aged 19 to 25 were ordered for 6 months service in public works, such as constructing Germany's impressive new network of autobahn. As a means of raising the standard of living, Hitler encouraged the development of the Volkswagen to provide cheap motoring in much the same way as Henry Ford had done in the United States with his Model T Ford. However, due to his extreme methods of ruling, he was disliked by many. Between 1939 and 1945, there were many plans to assassinate Hitler, some of which proceeded to significant degrees. The most well-known, the 20th July plot of 1944, came from within Germany. Part of Operation Valkyrie, the plot involved an officer planting a bomb in one of Hitler's headquarters. Hitler narrowly survived because one of his staff officers moved the briefcase containing the bomb behind the leg of the heavy conference table, which deflected much of the blast. Later, Hitler ordered a savage reprisal, resulting in the execution of more than 4,900 people. Once Hitler came into full power, he started disobeying the several clauses related to the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler deepened his involvement in the war effort by appointing himself Commander-in-Chief of the Army in December 1941. Towards the end of the war, Hitler's leadership became increasingly disconnected from reality as the war turned against Germany, with the military's defensive strategies often hindered by his slow decision making. Nevertheless, he continued to believe that only his leadership could deliver victory. In the final months of the war, Hitler refused to consider any peace negotiations. Researchers have variously suggested that Hitler suffered from several health issues, including borderline personality disorder. However, they firmly believed that he was aware of the consequences and the tragedy that his actions would unleash. On the fateful day before committing suicide, Hitler sat with his secretary to dictate his will. He insisted and believed that he was doing all of it in a noble cause and that he was a man of peace. He had only led his nation in self-defense. In the wee hours of 29th April 1945, Hitler and his mistress, Eva Braun, exchanged marriage vows before a city official. On 30th April, Hitler acknowledged that his cause was lost. He feared public humiliation than death. He subsequently, in his bunker beneath, made preparation for his death and gave instructions for his body to be destroyed thereafter. Within a few minutes, Hitler and his mistress were dead. Eva had taken poison and Hitler had shot himself. Before taking their own lives, they had killed their 6 children by morphine injections. After their death, Hitler's subordinates and attendants fled for their own lives. They carried the dead bodies of the Nazi leader Hitler and his wife outside the bunker and doused them in petrol, setting them on fire. The charred bodies could not even be identified. It was later, due to the scrutiny of the Russians, that their identity was established only through the Führer's dental records. Hitler's suicide was likened by contemporaries to a spell being broken. Public support for Hitler had collapsed by the time of his death, and few Germans mourned his passing. Historians, philosophers, and politicians often use the word evil to describe the Nazi regime. Many European countries have criminalized both the promotion of Nazism and Holocaust denial.